Alright guys, so today what we'll be looking at is your very first code to automation using LangChain. Okay, it's going to be an interesting dive, right? Because what we'll be doing is we'll be connecting LLM, precisely OpenAI, right, which is ChatGPT, right? We'll be connecting it with our application, right, so that we can experience the power of what we can achieve. So basically this is going to be your very first line of code, or a very simple project which we'll be working on so as to get your hands dirty on LangChain. Okay, so the very first thing you would want to do is to install your dependencies, right? And you're going to do pimp install. I've already installed LangChain, but then I just want to show you guys how you can go about it. So once you have LangChain, you're going to sort of like create an open bracket inside of it. So we're going to say open AI right? So this is going to install OpenAI's dependency for LangChain, and of course, as usual, you should have your LangChain as well installed. So just hit enter. It's going to install the dependency. It's going to take a while, right, to get all the dependencies installed, but I've already installed it so that this production would be focused on we getting our hands dirty rather than taking time in installing what we would need. Okay, so having done the installation, now we can start writing our code at this point. So I already have my OpenAI API key installed or saved in my env. You can get yours, it's free, right? You can get it, right? So okay, let's get in. So the first thing I would want to do is just to or rather, let's just start with what would need, and eventually would move on if we need other things. So I just want to get so we're going to say from let's say LangChain. We need the chat module, right? And so let's get it. um sorry, so this should be import, right? So the chat module, so we're initiating the chat module. This is the very first thing which would be using. The next which I would want now would be my dots so .env, right? So let's have our .env. So let's just call .env so that we can have access to our API key which we have here. So very simple. Now that we already have this, so what I would want to do now is just to suck from the chat module. So first of all, I would want to say module would be ChatGTP dash 4.1 dash mini, right? So this is the model we want to use, right? So once we have that, the next thing we would want to do to be something like, let's say my chat, that would be equals to, remember that we've already created an instance of this, so we're going to pick up this instance, have it here, right? And inside here, so we're going to call majorly two things, right? So the very first one is going to be model, which would be equals to this model. Then something else I would want, which is going to be temperature, and let me use this 7.4. so the higher it goes, the more hallucinating it becomes, right? And meaning it's going to go out of the scope question to give us our answer, right? But and if we stay at 0, it's going to be more or less like strict to our stuff. But having it at 0.6, 0.7, it's fine so that it doesn't hallucinate too much, and at the same time it sounds more humanistic, right? Okay, so once we have these, the next thing I would want to do is just to say, okay, my response is going to be this my charts, right? And dot invoke. So we'd always use this invoke call, right, to get our stuff. So what I would want to say is, let me just take this. So explain the theory of relativity in simple terms. Okay, so if I save that and I come down here and I say, okay, let it print out that response, but I just want to get the content, right? So let me save this, right? And right here I can run the code. So if I say Python main, right, and hit enter, so it's going to, so it's sort of like loading up, and once it loads up, hopefully it's going to give us this result. Note, if you don't have your env running, it's not going to work because it's going to be requesting for your key, right? So very important. So now we can see these results here, and this is almost like the same thing when we type. If I type this question on ChatGPT, this is going to be almost the same result which we'll get, telling us about relativity. Now if you observe what happened, there seems to be a delay for a very long while because it's an async call, right? And it's sort of like wait for it to get all the data. Once all the data are ready, it straight up our screen, right? So which is good in a way, but we could stream this data, right, so that it sort of like give us the data it has already gotten, right, while we wait for other data to come, right? For us to so achieve that, so I could just, now of course we know that this is an array, right? I mean, this is a string, right? So we can sort of like split this, right, for it to give us one by one, right? So if I come here and I say, okay, chunk, right, so I'm using string, so I would say in let's say my chart, right? So my chart, so my chart dot string, and and I use this same question which I have here. So let me just use this same question. Now if I come down, so let me just push this out so that would have the all of these in one line. Let me see if it's possible for me to have it in one line. All right, so this is not bad, right? So we're saying, okay, the chunk, remember for here we're taking the response content, so yeah, of course the chunk is going to have content, so content, and what we're doing with this is to break to a new line, right? So let it break to a new line, and we're putting flush to be true, right? So this is what gives it that animated feel. So if we save this now, and let me just bring this out and come here, run this. So let's chill for a while, right? And while it's loading our data, in a short while we're going to see our response. All right, so now we're getting our data. You can see our data is loading up by chunk, right? So the chunk of data it has gotten, it loads it in, so on and so forth, right? So tell me about this. Tell me a story about a brave knight, right? So that is what it's doing here. So this is basically we using the chat feature from LangChain, right? Very simple. All we just need to do is to call it out, and we specify the model we're using, we define the temperature, and that's it. This is where we're writing the major code. However, let me just comment here out and come back to this, right? And if I say, okay, I would want to know, so let's say tell me about the weather condition in Lagos, Nigeria. Now this is AI, right? So I'm expecting it to be able to tell me that, right? So let me first of all clear this out. And if I run this again, but we're going to observe something, right? And I would want it to load up before I say what the observation is, right? So let it load up. We're going to observe something. Okay, so boom, amazing, right? So we can see that it's giving us data, right? We can get the data, right? However, this data might not be real data. Like it might not be real data. Why? Because it might not be able to explicitly, just like what's saying here, right? It cannot be explicitly get data, right, from weather, right? So what we need to do is to sort of like, even though we're getting something here which is cool, but then we could because what it's doing here is just, this is more or less like a guess, not giving us the actual weather at the moment, right? So what we can do now is to add a function, have it create not a chart now, right, but have it create sort of like a function, read from that function and let us know the weather in real time, right? So that's something else which we're going to do, and that's going to be very interesting. So in order for that to work, or for us to do that, we need to call in precisely two model, or we need to instantiate, right, from LangChain, right? So let's do that now. So I'm going to say from LangChain. Okay, so from LangChain dot let's call agent first, right? So let it just import. Why am I using this? So let it import agent, create agent, right? Yeah, so that's the one we want. Then the next thing we're going to call from LangChain is going to be tools, right? So this is going to help us to create declarators, right? So let it bring in two, right? So these are the two things which would need for this time. Okay, so we already have these two which we've called in already. So let me just create more space here so that we can work here. All right, so the first thing is for us to make use of our declarator. So these are declarator, we're going to create more or less like a function. So let's just say let it get a weather. We've not created this function yet, but we're going to do that. Then we're going to sort of like define a description, right? So let's say the description of this function. So let's say let me see what it wrote here. I kind of like what it gave us here. So let's say get the current weather for a given location, and that's not bad. So let me just remove all of these because we're not working with US, right? So let's just say for a given city rather than a given location. Okay, so we have this, and something else I can have included would be this return direct, right? Now for this return direct, I would want it to be false. Now I could, if I don't have anything by default, right, it's going to be false, but then I could say, okay, I want to change the return direct, right, how it's going to be, so I want to change it. But for now, let's leave it at false, right, so that we can get a good glimpse of what we can achieve with this. All right, so the next thing we'll need to do is to declare a function, which we've already said it should be get weather, right? So let's just do get weather, and this weather is going to take a parameter of a string which is going to be city, and in this city, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to say let's say data to be equals to, so at the moment we want to read from an external source, a weather source, right? So would need to import maybe request, right? So let's import request so that we'll just use it to read from that source. So I could do the get, and let's use the f string. So inside of here, this is what we want, but for here I'm going to say J1, right? All right, so this is the stuff which would want to read, but would want the stuff to come back to us as a JSON data, right? So this is good. Now we have this. So once we have this, now we can now go ahead to create an agent. So let's quickly create an agent. So I could just say, okay, this agent, right? So that will be create underscore agent, right? So inside there, the first thing we'd want to do is to call our model. Remember, we've already declared the model before, so we'll just say that would be model. Would say, okay, the tools which would be working with. Remember, we've created this get weather. All right, so these are the major things. Then lastly, we're going to call more like a system prompt, right? So we're going to declare a system prompt. So this is where we would write out something that would make the agent behave the way it's going to behave, right? So this agent, we're creating this agent and we're saying this agent is going to be an helpful weather assistant, right? So it's just giving weather information, right? So that's what this agent is built for. Just to be sure that everything is working fine, so let me clear here, and down here let's just put a print to say let's say future lab, right? So let's just say yeah, future labs agent. Okay, so if I come here and I run this, I would want to see this. So if at any point we have a crash, we would know, oh, there's a problem, so that we can quickly fix that problem. All right, so we know that our code run up to this point here. So now what we're going to do now is to say, okay, let's create more like a response, and would say this response would be equals to agent, right? The agent we've created invoke, right? Okay, so would need certain stuff here, right? So the first one is going to be messages, right? And these messages, let's have role that's going to be user. So let me just take this. So we have role to be user and the content, right? So we need this to be, let's say, Lagos, Nigeria, right? All right, so let me just run this again, and if and let's say if everything works fine up to this point here. Okay, so so while we wait for that, this we're almost done. Just about 33 lines of code. There's not much, but what we've successfully done with this, it's we creating an agent, right? An agent that gives us weather reports, right? So that's what we've successfully done. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do quickly while we wait for us to get our result from here, of course network might be what's delaying there, so we could just do our print, and we can call our response dot we can, of course I wouldn't want to just do response dot content without me saying what the response is. Let me say, yeah, so we can see everything is fine. So now let's get the response content, right? And I could comment on that. I think we should be able to have messages here, and up here -1 dot content, I suppose, right? I suppose, but then let's try it out first. Okay, so if we run our code, we should be able to see the results, right? So let us just chill for a moment. All right, so what we've successfully done with this is we building a very simple agent, right? And what is agent, the role of this agent basically is just to give us weather reports of any city, right? If it's Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria, it could be Abuja, it could be Sokoto, it could be Meduguri, it could be Port Harcourt, Ibadan, regardless, right? So any city, the AI automatically knows the city we're requesting for. So this is it, right? Um, it automatically knows the city we're requesting for. It's sort of like get it right and apply it here in order for it to get the major data which it needs, right? The humidity, the temperature, right, and other elements which it would need, right? The wind velocity and so on and so forth, right? And gives us that data, right? And this is how simple it is for us to get this done, right? I'm going to sort of like give you guys the code base so that you guys can look at it, play with it, and eventually practice to get perfect, right? This is where we're going to stop today, and trust me, we'll be building more and more agents, right, with LangChain, right, so that your hand gets super perfect. Remember that automation is one of the essential skills needed as an AI engineer. Until we meet again in our next class, see you till then. Yep.